And I'm glad both of you...
Look, you say the Koch brothers, I say Soros. We know about all this.
I'll get them both out. Let's get them both out.
So I think there is a shared, I'm glad both of you agree that we do need reforms in our campaign finance system and that the process is currently corrupt. So we agree on that. Let me ask one final question because we have a lot of young people here in the audience. And, you know, when I read about your movies and things, it seems like we're about to lose our country if we elect certain people. And also similarly, Cenk, you talk about how we can't trust a lot of people in politics and it's very corrupt, and we both agree on that. Here's the final question. Why should, and you mentioned the founders. The founders talked about a lot in the Federalist Papers that we need the participation of the American people in order for a democracy to thrive. So, given that context, why should all the young people here be interested in politics and should be engaging more actively instead of believing that the whole system doesn't work and we shouldn't have anything to do with it?
Do you mind going first?
Oh, no, sure, no problem. So the founding fathers were geniuses, and they were also revolutionaries. So sometimes Dinesh talks about revolution. Obviously, he's got a very different idea than I do about it, and that's okay. That's what we want to get back to. We want to get back to a real debate in the country, right? Not corrupted by all the money. So Dinesh and I can have all the debates in the world, but then the Koch brothers can come in and put in $900 million, or Soros, or Bloomberg, and they can just simply buy. They might not be able to buy the presidency because there's so much free media, but they could buy a Montana Senate seat without blinking. So let's get back to real debates. And so how do you engage young people and give them hope? Well, that's why I brought up the founding fathers. Since they were revolutionaries, they built revolution institution. Not a violent one. They had to resort to muskets to get rid of tyranny. But they said, hey, you should do a revolution against this document that we wrote. You should all amend it from time to time, because there's no way we could have gotten it all right. I'll even give you two different ways to amend it. You could amend it through Congress, or you could amend it through the states. Now, Wolfpack thinks that Congress is fundamentally corrupt, so we're going to amend it. Conservatives should love this, and by the way, a lot of them do. Some of the most conservative people in the country, Wolfpack is nonpartisan, do love this. And they go, yes, let's go to the states, and young people, this is not pie in the sky, this is not horse race, this is real systemic change. And the beauty of it is we can all do it together, and we can even get liberals and conservatives to do it together. Let's do that revolution. That's exactly what the founding fathers wanted us to do.
Now, I will have to say, this is the first time in this entire debate that Cenk the Jank is, I believe, or at least I could basically be in agreement with him. I'd have to see the finer points and details to see how extensive he's talking about. But there is something in terms of that for the average citizen right now to get things done that you want done. When you send your elected representative, something happens to them when they get to Congress, especially on the Republican side. They just get engulfed by the cesspool, by the toilet bowl, the swamp. They just get swallowed in by the swamp creature and the swamp creatures. And then, because the thing is, next thing you know is, guess what? You got to be reelected. You got to vote the way that, the entire party wants you to vote. And then the speaker, and they're telling you, hey, if you don't vote this way, you know what? I know what they wanted back in your district, back in that, 3,000 population, in flyover country. But that's not going to fly in our country in Washington, D.C. over here. So if you don't vote the way that we're not going to put you on any committees. And when you come up for re-election, we're going to primary you. And so it starts right there. So I agree with Cenk that if there's a way somehow that we need to get things back to the power of the people, it is to the use of this, the state convention. Now, but you need to galvanize a huge amount of the population. So you got to start somewhere, and at least, he's talking about, he's trying to do something with that. I'll have to check it a little bit more in terms of what this Wolfpack thing is about. But anyways, let's continue.
When someone talks about who is a conservative in America, is someone who conserves. But conserves what? Cenk says, who conserves slavery? No. A conservative is someone who conserves the ideals of the American founding. That's what we conserve. Now, what is the main choice that young people face? I'd like to give you my own immigrant take on this. As I mentioned earlier, a society is not judged by how it treats the rich guy or the guy at the top. It's judged by what kind of life it makes possible for the guy at the bottom who's trying to come up. And it seems to me that in this, there are really two options. One party looks at America as a ladder of opportunity. Now, the government does have a role to hold the ladder, and that means to protect rights, property rights, rights of contract, and so on, patents, etc. And so your job then is to climb up the ladder. It's up to you. How far you get, it's partly a function of luck, and it's partly a function of how you do. But there's another approach in America, and that is, I call it the approach of the rope. And this is a group of guys who are sitting on top of a building. They don't really believe in ladders. Their point is that ladders are illusory. They say, we're gonna let down a rope. And we're asking you, little guy, to hang on to the rope, and we will pull you up. Now, on the face of it, that's more appealing, because you don't have to climb, you just gotta hang on. But you have to remember that the rope is very precarious. You're at the mercy of the guy holding the rope. If he decides to let you go, down you go. And second, you will never have that satisfaction of earned achievement of knowing that you did it, because you didn't do it, someone else did it for you. So the real difference, it seems to me, is over whether we as young people, as Americans, do we want the ladder of opportunity, or do we want the rope that I think all too tragically has for many people become a noose? Thank you very much.
Wow. Very, very powerful to end it. Very, very powerful. And I've heard this thing before from Dinesh, and others too. Basically putting it into a story. Emotion. I mean, it really drives home the point. Much more than... He could have fired out statistics, right? Of people climbing the ladder. Statistically, this is what happens. Versus statistically, here's welfare and, the government handing everything out to everybody. He could have done that too. And he'll be going... Put you to sleep. But I guarantee you, there were people in that audience, every single person there was in tune to what Dinesh D'Souza was saying about the ladders of opportunity and the pitfalls of the noose and the rope. And that hit home, and they showed that little thing where even Cenk, you could see, if you go back over this thing and you see when they panned Cenk while this was going on, Cenk's going, holy crap. I got killed in the beginning of the debate. I got killed in the middle of the debate. And now he's ending the debate with me with this statement in terms of what the opportunity is out there. And remember, we talked about, folks, it is the Republicans or conservatives. We always talk about that in terms of there should be, equality of opportunity. Not equality in terms of outcome, because you can't have equal outcomes. It's just not going to work unless somebody is there playing the game, right? Messing around with the game, putting hurdles in perspective, taking hurdles away, putting in obstacles, taking obstacles away. There's no way you're going to have equality of outcome. You want equality of opportunity, and that's what it's all about. That, folks, is really what it's all about.
So let me just say, first of all, I think we've had a great debate, and I just want to say thank you to Cenk, thank you to Dinesh. I think we've had a great discussion here. And since we were talking about the Founding Fathers, and because we have so many young people, the only thing I want to say is that we should not be disillusioned from this whole system, because all the corruption that we're talking about only reinforces itself if we do not participate. And for all of us who see the Founding Fathers as marble statues, Here's one last fact I want to leave you with, and that is the majority of the founding fathers in 1776 were under the age of 40. Thomas Jefferson was 33 years old when he wrote the Declaration of Independence. James Madison didn't write the Constitution when he was 70 years old. He wrote it when he was 36. He was elected to the Continental Congress when he was 29. So the spirit of our country has been renewal, especially from young people, and that's why we need to involve. Thank you very much.
Thank you. You're next, and thank you.
Great ending by the moderator. And the nice thing I liked about the moderator in this debate, he literally stayed out of it. He was like the referee. He didn't even know he was there. He basically tried to bring it back a couple of times, point out the questions, saying, you know what, I think we've dealt enough on this topic over here, tried to clarify some positions, gave everybody, I think, an equal opportunity, and then ended it brilliantly by bringing it back to the founding fathers and what this nation, what America is all about. And we may have our disagreements. And, look, in terms of this thing with the reaction videos and everything, yeah, Cenk the Jank, and the Young Turks. Look, they do the same thing. We all do that, right? You got to have something when you're talking about. But the fact of the matter is, hey, we agree to disagree, period. We point out some inconsistencies. If I've got some inconsistencies, point them out. If you think that I flip-flop, point it out. If you think that my facts are wrong, point it out. I'll take a look. I'll see if I was wrong. If I was, fess up to it. If I wasn't, I'll say that, you're making stuff up. You're saying things that I never said before. Anyways, folks, we appreciate you taking the time to watch. You've been watching the Dr. Nasir Shaikh Show. I've been your host. My name is Dr. Nasir. And if you haven't done so already, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell, like, share, and follow us. Put your comments down below. We'd love to know what you think. I'll leave you with my final thought, which is, when you're right, you're right. And when you're left, you're wrong. Watch these entire series, folks. They're in our, in our cache on our webpage on the YouTube site. Check out all our videos. We appreciate so much. And I said before, take care and stay safe.